G'day guys, this is Rob from Troutlore.com.au, Australia's fly tying specialist store. Today we're tying a fly from the Currawong Collection, a new book by Dr. Graham Hosie that just turned up on my desk this week. Thank you, Graham. This book features a range of flies tied and fished by Graham at Currawong Lakes over the years. Each one is a proven fish catcher and each one has its own little story. It's an easy to follow book that has simple instructions for each of the flies. Today we're tying the Birdie, named innocently enough after the dog that lived at the lakes. Nothing to do with the bird at all, nothing to do with the feathers involved in the tying of it. So let's get started. We are coming in with a Goulburn steel 4214 dry fly hook in a size 14. Graham calls for a 14 or a 16 in the book. I'm tying it in the larger size today just so it's a little easier to see in the video. Then it's 8/0 uni thread in the camel colour. I'm using Veevus 8/0 thread in the brown, which is actually very similar to that camel colour, purely because I've got some spooled up and I don't want to crack open a new thread of the uni. So starting just behind the hook eye, we're going to make touching wraps down the shank until we get to the bend of the hook. We'll stop just short of there, trim off that excess, and then a few extra wraps till we get to the end of the shank, then bringing our thread forward slightly. For the body, it calls for a tan CDC feather. We're using these natural grey ones from Upavon, which have a bunch of different colours in there, and you will find some great tan tones. I'm going to take one of the longer feathers, preen it down until we bunch up the tips, and then spinning our thread anti-clockwise so it jumps back when loosely wrapped. We'll pass that around those tips twice, apply a little tension, wrap back onto it, and then bring our thread forward about 2/3 of the way up the hook shank. We're going to rope this CDC feather and wrap it up the shank. So in comes the hackle pliers, and we'll capture that feather at the tip and twist that up into a rope, where we start wrapping over the existing thread base, bringing that forward, do a few wraps, and then we'll just put a couple of extra twists in as each wrap is undoing the twist slightly in the thread. And then once we get up to where that thread is resting, we will capture one wrap behind, one wrap in front, one wrap behind again, pull that up and trim it nice and tight. Then we'll just preen these fibres back, capture those with our thread so that they're all laying towards the rear of the hook and not pushing forward. Next, for the underwing, we're using dun coloured CDC, using this Veniard CDC stuff, which is fantastic value for money, and you get great size in the feathers. So we're taking a nice long one, and then from the tip we're just going to preen back those fibres, trim it out, and capture that at that tie-in point where we've left our thread, locking it off, and then preening those fibres back into the stem so that they're folding back over the body. We'll start making a series of wraps to really puff that up. Maybe 3 wraps around should take care of it. Capture the CDC stem with one wrap behind, one tighter wrap in front to really lock that off, one more wrap behind, one wrap in front, and then trim off that tag. Again, we'll just preen everything back and capture it with a few more thread wraps so that all those fibers are pushing to the rear of the hook. Last but not least, we need to put a wing on this. It's a Caddis imitation, so we want that nice fluttery moth-like wing. So for that, we are using Veniard English Partridge in the brown back. Basically, you can use a lot of the scrappy feathers in this. We're only using the very tip. The important thing is to find one that is fairly straight. So we don't want one that is curved like that, otherwise your wing will end up being curved. So we can go with something short, it just needs to be straight at the tips. So I'm going with this guy here, and then we will preen out all the fluffy stuff. Don't need any of that. And trim that off to take our stem. Then we're going to preen this down so that it extends about 1/3 of a hook shank past the bend. So we'll just take off some of those fibers at the front, and then that gets us about the length we want. Once we pull that through, we might just take a few more off. You'll learn after having a few fail on you how much you need to actually trim it down to. So then holding that over, you can see it's quite long. We're going to shorten that as we pull it through. We'll hold that in place and place a couple of loose wraps over, and then tilting it so that we can see on top, we just pull that fiber through, making sure it's aligned in the center, and then one tight wrap, pull it back, one tight wrap around the hook shank, one tight wrap over the stem again, trim that off, and then we're just going to build up a head with some thread here, coming back over all those fibers, which will lock everything in place. In comes the whip finisher, and we can just seal that away with a couple of 2 or 3 turn whip finishes. That's all that's needed. Trim that out, and finally, to make sure everything doesn't come undone, some of the Loon hard head cement. We just put a little drop on the head there with our bodkin. That'll soak in nicely. And there you have it. That is the Birdie. It's a simple little CDC and Partridge Caddis imitation. The wings on the top from that Partridge feather give you a great little moth look from underneath. Beautiful light colours of that CDC. It's going to sit low in the film, but it's going to float like no tomorrow. So, for those of you who are interested, the book is the Currawong Collection, and that fly is one of many tied by Dr. Graham Hosie in that book. That will be available from the Troutlore Flytying store fairly soon, along with all the materials for this fly, which you can find down there in the description as usual. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button so that you'll always be aware of our new videos when they come out. And as always, happy tying.